One of the rules of the early church was that bishops were buried in the churches they built or at least benefited with enormous privileges. This leads us to suppose that Bishop Honorius, if not actually having built the primitive church of St. Faustinus, at least had a monastery built here, whose community officiated in the suburban church. Because, despite the many transformations and great changes, the memory of Bishop Honorius still hangs in the air inside the church of St. Faustinus. We know for sure that Honorius was a bishop in Brescia in the 6th century, and that he is celebrated on the 24th of April. Everything else is legend. What we do know, however, is that his relics have actually been venerated for well over 1,000 years inside this church. Originally, they were located in the crypt, exactly next to those of the martyrs Faustinus and Jovita, with whom they shared the beautiful marble polyptych that is now in Santa Giulia. In 1604, when the choir was lowered, his relics were moved to a southern chapel of the church. But there was no rest for St. Honorius. A few years later, during massive renovation works, his location was changed again. This time, his relics ended up in the main chapel on the right aisle, over which the Calini family had acquired the right of burial and patronage. The family funded both the altar and the beautiful altarpiece by Bernardino Gandino. In 1646, after the renovation, the relics were finally placed on the altar. All's well that ends well? No. In 1945, the relics of St. Honorius were moved again, precisely because it was decided to build the new baptistry in the main chapel on the right aisle, and the relics were transferred to the main chapel on the left, now dedicated to the crucifix. Is it because of all these moves that St. Honorius is considered the patron saint of migraine sufferers? Actually, no. The ancient tradition is recounted in Gandino's painting, still clearly visible at the top of the baptistry chapel. Surrounded by clouds and angels in episcopal robes, St. Honorius is seen in the act of blessing members of the Calini family. But if we look to the right side, we see a group of devotees with bandaged heads, reminding us precisely of the thaumaturgic abilities of the bishop, who was considered a protector not only against migraine, but especially against the bad thoughts that may creep into the mind. Even today, under the altar where his relics are kept, there are two holes where the kneeling faithful can introduce their heads and find comfort, if not from pain, at least in their souls.